Goedemiddag mensen. Alright, so we've been expecting rain today, and we have had rain pretty much the majority of this last week, so I haven't put down any of the post-emergent herbicide that I said that I was going to put down. You don't put the stuff down when you're expecting rain. So I'm just doing a bit of a general garden cleanup. There's a lot of mess in this place. I've got weeds galore in my beds. So tomorrow I'm going to do what I haven't done in some time, and that's hire somebody to come and help me. And then I think I may start using a pre-emergent, just to try and sort of get ahead of things. But yeah, whilst things are a little bit longer, whilst your lawn is a little bit longer, it's often a good time to go and look out for those weeds, which is why I said in the previous video, go and investigate weeds. Now, what I did in the previous video was I sort of just concentrated on the sort of main stretch over here. I've just said sort of too many times, but whatever. And what I did was ignore this part, and I saw these guys, and I just chose to ignore them because I know exactly what they are. That is Paspalum. I don't know if you can see it. Kind of looks like a kuyu. Now, I think some of you guys have this in your lawns. That's why I thought it's a good idea to bring this up again. But that is what Paspalum looks like. On top of, there's the oxalis. On top of quiek, which is Bermuda grass for you American guys, or cooch for you Australian guys. Why you chose to name it that, who knows. That's Paspalum. Stands out like a sore thumb, but kind of looks like a kuyu when you look at it like that. And this is where a lot of guys confuse it, and they just keep mowing. And if you're mowing at sort of a medium height, let's say 20-25 mils, this just disappears in your lawn. When you mow short, you either just get it to like a little stub position where you don't notice anything any further, or it runs flat like that and just sort of intertwines itself in your existing turf. So these guys are not so straightforward to get rid of unless you're using something like Pennant Magnum, which is a pre-emergent, which is used for sports turf and golf courses and so on. And that pre-emergent helps control these guys, but from a seed level. To get rid of the actual item, we don't really have any registered herbicides in South Africa that will get rid of them in Kikuyu and Bermuda and, well, any cool season grasses for that matter. So I manually remove mine, but you really got to get in there. And the way that I do it is, while they're nice and long like this, I lift all the long end bits up like that, and I try and find where they enter the soil. And you can see this one's in bunches. So what you do is you get your weeding tool. You can't do it by just pulling on it. You have to get a weeding tool in there and then dig that whole guy out. And I did it to mine up in this main stretch, I think about a year to a year and a half ago, and none of them have returned. So if I use a pre-emergent here, the chances are that they will never return. But if you don't, this is what's going to end up happening. So the only way to get rid of these guys is to pull them out, or you can do the other trick of coloring them in with some glyphosate. But I don't recommend even having glyphosate in your arsenal. You're just looking for trouble. You don't need Roundup for anything. You just don't. There's selective herbicides that can do anything that you need them to do in various grass types. There's different herbicides that you can use for your paving. You don't need Roundup. You don't need a non-selective herbicide for just about anything these days in your home garden. So just remove it from the equation. Side note, check this out. Besides all the blackjacks and other weeds that have started growing in these beds, I actually killed these off with Roundup some time back. And when I was keeping my beds in control, or under control, or had them under control, should I say, then things were fine, But you go away for 3 weeks, you come back, not even 3 weeks, and you've got a full bed of, this is common Bermuda, otherwise known as quiek here in South Africa. And you can tell that when it's not looked after, look at how spaced out all those nodes are. And that's what's not so lacquer about common Bermuda. All the newer cultivars have much tighter node spacing, a much thinner blade, and much closer together. So you see, that's why people don't like quiek in South Africa. If you let it get a little bit too long, it gets out of control. But if you put pressure on it, it can actually be pretty bloody marvelous, but you've got to be consistent with it. And yeah, it just doesn't die. That was apparently dead by using Roundup, and a lot of it, multiple applications. It's still growing back. It's everywhere. Look at that. I'm vermoeden. And so the rest of today, I'm just going to get out my rotary, go and mow the bottom of the yard, and then I'm going to get out Frankenstein again, but I'm going to raise the height of cut. I did put this lawn under a bit of pressure by just keeping it at that 13 mil mark. I can't remember what I measured before mowing last week, but it was like 40 something mils. And I just thought, no, I always just mow short, Travis. I don't practice what I preach. And I mowed short. And I mean, it looks okay now, but I think I need to raise my heart cuts a little bit. So I'm going to lift the mower up to maybe 16 or 18 mils. And then we'll mow with that for the next 2 or 3 weeks and just see what happens with it. Alright, so we start with the rotary because it's almost like with trimming edges. You want to do your edges first and then pull out the rotary and clean up in this type of garden situation like mine. So you can clean up all the rubbish from what you just removed using your weed eater and get through this taller grass and do like a bit of a cleanup. Then you pull out your cylinder mower. Your cylinder mower is almost like a finishing device. It doesn't clean up well. It's just for make pretty stuff.
It sound right, boys.
Hey, shush. Just a few observations while I'm halfway through this mow session. One, that is the highest setting on my mower, so it just is what it is. It's a bit of a sculpt, but it's the highest I can do anyway. Secondly, you'll see that I never mowed over this paspalum because you're going to cart those seeds to other areas of your yard. So get out your weeding tool and remove them before you decide to mow. Then, for those of you who might recall, in a video some time back I said I'm going to try and mulch this bottom area because I don't want to have to cart bags of grass away. In other words, laziness. And because this is LM, I thought, well, I haven't tried this yet. I don't like to mulch in Kikuyu and Bermuda. You guys know that. I did that test a million times. But LM I've never tried it in. So I thought, let's give that a try. However, I don't like that as well. As you can see here, I scratched away a bit at the surface. You can tell it looks very different to the rest. And that's because this is fresh clippings. You shouldn't be mulching like this, just by the way. I know this is not right. You mustn't just take off lots and expect it to mulch. It must be small amounts. In other words, still keep up your regular mowing so that these clippings aren't so long and then really nice and fine. But even when I did that, all that happens is you get an accumulation of this. Now that looks great and it may start to decompose, but this is now like 2 or 3 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, I guess. Man, I'm trying to remember now. Let's say 3 months. It's just smothering the grass. How do I know that? Because when I rake it out, I don't have a nice dense turf. I've got wiry sticks all over the place. That's an indication that whilst this stuff is putting some organic matter back into the soil, and of course it's putting some nutrients back in, which just by the way is now causing some excessive growth unnecessarily. Remember, you want control. By leaving the matter on the surface, you are sort of fertilizing and they're fertilizing again. So that's, yes, there's validity in putting back the fertilizer, but you're smothering your grass at the same time. This is why I don't like using coarse composts on the surface of your grass. So there it is. There's some evidence, eh? The LM is wiry. See that? Enough chit-chat, Travis. Just finish mowing, man. Here's another little something interesting. You notice those Paspalum seeds that we looked at earlier on. You get a smaller, but only 2 or 3 segment seed head like this on LM. So when you see that, don't stress. It's just your LM trying to seed. Here we go. Looks like Paspalum, but a completely different size. It's not nearly as large, and it hangs differently. I'll show you the Paspalum again. There's the Paspalum. Let's try and get that to focus. There we go. That's Paspalum. Let's do the same thing with the LM again. And that is LM, Berea, sweet smother grass, Durban grass. Here's another perfect example that you can see with the naked eye. This LM section wasn't mowed or just before we left for vacation. It was a couple of weeks before. So this has been given about a month, maybe a bit longer, to decompose, and it just doesn't. You can clearly tell this grass, whilst maybe trying to decompose, is for the most part, and in the interim, whilst attempting to decompose, causing that is a thatch buildup, 110%, and it is grass clippings. I don't care if you tell me grass clippings aren't thatch. It is thatch. End of story. And especially when it does that to your lawn, it's wrong. Grumpy Travis. Oh, Travis, another interjection. Yes. Just having a look. Just by the way, if this isn't an advertisement for Trim Tech mowers, I don't know what would be. But check this out. I've been mulching obviously down here and let's say not cleaning up, i.e. mulching. And this is looking pretty darn good. But this is now like a year plus worth of decomposition that's on the surface. That actually doesn't look so bad. There's some weed suppression that's happening here. So maybe what I should do, because part of me letting this grass grow in, this used to be a sandpit by the way, is to get this filled up. And then I'm going to choose a mark. It's probably going to be like in line with the shed. So maybe here. That's where this bed should start, and it's going to get cut out. So perhaps what I should do is move the playground stuff forward. It needs to be repainted anyway. Move it forward, so further away from the trees. Draw the line, i.e. take a spade, cut a line into the ground up until here, maybe line it up with this corner and that corner, a little bit skew, but that's fine, and follow the free-form shape that I've got going on in the rest of the yard, and then dump all of these clippings and the other clippings that, I mean, you guys only see this, I store more clippings on the other side of the house, just by the way. Take all of that and I'm going to dump it in the beds. Maybe that's something. I wouldn't do that for fine or delicate beds, but for hardy stuff where you need to mulch under some trees or under shrubs even, or bushes, that's maybe a good idea, but just expect extra growth. There we go, done. Actually, Travis, you really should practice what you preach. First, we need to get those guys out the ground. By the way, I'm going in about that deep. I'm guessing that's like 10, almost 15 centimeters deep. Don't know how well you can see that, but that's the majority of it. I reckon I probably left some of the finer roots deeper down, but those guys most likely won't regrow. It's what's here really close to the crown that will definitely regrow. Actually, just another one of those matters of interest. There's the Paspalum. And there's the kikuyu. So similar, just one gigantic blade when it gets a chance to grow versus a much thinner blade. That's how the kikuyu looks. You can clearly tell there's a kikuyu runner. Also how it runs. And there is the Paspalum, more of a bunch. If you start feeling for it, you'll feel that bunch. Yeah, I did just say that. Right, there it is. That just took 5 minutes, and it looked a lot worse than what it was. It was just sort of 4 or 5 big tufts. The rest of the coarse-looking stuff, the little bunches that you see, that isn't Paspalum, that's just kikuyu. That's how it looks against kwiek at a distance. So there we go, 5 minutes of barely labor, and you've got rid of some Paspalum. And if it comes back, it's going to be a little thing here and there. You must know where those weeds were, so keep an eye on your lawn, read your lawn, and just go out and catch them at some point. None of that was difficult. I'm just really unfit. And now, you put back on that catcher and mow this all again, Travis. Come on. My bad, my battery died. But that was a bunch of unnecessary work. I wish I had just done that from the beginning. No idea why I didn't just use the catcher from ground zero. Actually, I do. YouTube content. Yeah, this really has stuffed up my lawn. I'm not too happy about that, but it is what it is. Something else that I think you guys might find quite interesting is you can clearly tell this little section over here is somehow greener than up there. Why is that? Well, a simple and straightforward answer: that is taller than that. That is not better than that. That is just taller than that. That is all. So don't let yourselves be fooled by YouTube videos where the grass is super green, but it's also this tall or taller. It will be green if it's this tall or taller. What you're going to look out for is lawns like Brenton's from the Aussie lawn. That man mows short and the lawn is green. To me, that means that even if I wasn't standing on that lawn, I would know that it's pretty well looked after. Just looking at green lawn on videos does not tell you anything. You're not looking at how dense the turf is. You're not seeing weeds that might be hidden, like these Paspalums. They weave their way into the lawn. You'll never see it if it's 25 mils or whatever and taller. You'll never see it on a video. It just, it's a cheat. And since this is a educational lawn care channel, I should say that I know that some of you have got gigantic lawns, and in that circumstance you can't bag those clippings. So the only thing that you can do is mow very often so the clippings are as fine as possible, or use a plant growth regulator to just slow down the growth so that you can keep up with mowing. Or you are going to have to mow taller so that you can mulch, and in that circumstance you're going to have to expect that some smothering is happening on your lawn. At the same time, you are continually feeding your lawn. Keep that in mind. Use it, don't use it. All right, my wife has summoned me to go for a walk with the kids, and so I'm going to do that. I'm not going to mow the lawn this afternoon, but I think we've learned enough stuff in this video, a couple of bits and pieces, just a quick one. And yeah, if you guys find any of that useful, give me a thumbs up, share this with your buddies, like, subscribe, and we'll probably have something more useful next week. Cheers. All right, for those of you who stay to this part of the video, I'm back from taking the wife and the kids and the dogs for a walk, and I decided I'm going to mow the lawn now. Wasn't thinking about putting it in the video until I realized something really funny. I've made a boo-boo. I thought that Frankenstein was set up for 13 millimeters at the end of last year. So that last video where I showed a nice clean cut as my last mow for the year, and that this is what I was going to have raised the height of cut to so that I can go on vacation and not worry about my lawn being not too long, not too short, you know, all that kind of stuff. I thought that it was 13 mils. Here I get ready to mow Frankenstein. Thought, okay, I'm going to move it up to 16 or 18 mils and pull out the calipers, and the calipers are set to 9 millimeters. I thought, well, that's strange. I thought that I set it to 15 or 13 or whatever it was. Let me pull out the height of cut bar. Check the height of cut bar is also set up to 9 millimeters. I thought, whoops, I've made a boo-boo. Checked it under Frankenstein. True as Bob. Frankenstein has been running 9 millimeters this whole time. With double and triple and quadruple cuts and all the rest of it. 9 millimeters. So that's not so bad. Anyway, I've lifted Frankenstein now to 15 millimeters. I think it's the tallest I've ever mowed using Frankenstein. And we're going to do that for the next little while and just see how that looks. I feel like a taller mow I need a taller mow because I'm not keeping up to regular mowing. So let's mow at 15 mils for the first time, I think. Much better. Much better. And I never seem to show you from this angle, so this is what it looks like from this end of the yard. Don't really pick up the stripe so much because of the sun. Now, that's pretty smooth. And yes, I drove right over the dog poops. Didn't feel like picking them up. Whatever, judge me. I'm quite happy with that. I think 15 mils might be my go-to for a little while. It's a very nice cheat. It's taller than it's pretty much ever been. It looks greener because of it, even though there are scalp marks from that last occasion everywhere. But I think that because I'd been mowing short for so long, I've got a good structure, a good foundation to bring it up to this 15 mil mark and sit here for a little while. So we'll try that. Anyway, again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share this with your buddies, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.